Welcome back to Teach a Man to Fish channel. We're excited to bring you venison barbecue meatballs. We'll be starting with this well-aged leg quarter. You may already have your hamburger meat all ground up. Venison is perfect for this. As a matter of fact, the recipe calls for lean hamburger meat. Let's go ahead and get started. Using well-aged deer meat makes all the difference. Here you can see we're cleaning up this ham or leg quarter by cutting along the seams, separating those roasts out, and that's what we'll be using. We aged this deer out in the barn for a couple of days, but then it started getting too warm and we finished it off in the refrigerator. This is exactly what properly aged meat looks, sounds, and smells like. It is fantastic to use in your cooking. Now you take out the rest of those roasts and all the sinew and all the bits and pieces that don't seem appetizing to you, you remove from that ham. Stay tuned for later in the video. We'll be putting in Mrs. O'Neill's secret ingredient. You're gonna love this. If you have one of these KitchenAids and the KitchenAid grinder, they're perfect for this small job. If it's a larger job, say doing 15-20 pounds of meat, I'll get out the larger grinder that I have. For this recipe, we do a beef fat add and a double grind. Just makes for a more tender meatball. The full recipe that we'll put in the description down below calls for 2 pounds, but we went ahead and weighed this and came in at 6 pounds of meat, so we'll adjust our recipe accordingly. So right after I tell you that, I'm just throwing these breadcrumbs in. I do a lot of my cooking by eye, but just know in the description I'll put in specific volumes as well as any of the tools and equipment that we use in this video. You can have links to purchase it there. While you're making this recipe, you can actually make more than you need in one sitting, and right after you pull out of the oven, you can freeze the batch, and from that point forward, all you're doing is throwing the frozen meatballs into the crock pot to finish off. At this point, all we've done is the meatballs. We set aside a little bit of ketchup for the sauce, but that's all we've been focused on, is getting the ingredients and mixing up the meatballs. At this point, you'll want to fold those spices in, and don't get too wrapped around the axle over mixing this up. You want it to be still kind of light and fluffy and not turning into a paste. You'll want to make these into 1-inch meatballs and then evenly space them on a non-greased baking tray. Now that you have those all spaced out evenly on the tray and that oven is preheated to 350 degrees, go ahead and throw them in for 18 minutes. And while they're baking in there, we'll get the sauce done. It's the perfect amount of time to get set to go into the slow cooker. And here it is. It's time for that secret ingredient. Adds the perfect moisture and sweetness to your recipe. You won't go wrong with that one. Here's a little handy kitchen tip. When you're doing your tomato paste, cut both ends off and it pushes out just like a tube. Sometimes it's kind of a pain to get all of the tomato paste out of the can with the spoon. So one of the things that we enjoy doing as hunters is introducing people to venison. And there's no better opportunity than a crock pot full of these meatballs for everyone to sample and enjoy. You'll win some people over to being on the side of venison meat eaters. Next goes in some soy sauce, some vinegar, a couple of dashes of Worcestershire sauce, as well as some heat. We've got some fermented habanero, yellow habanero from the garden this summer. There's a video I'll put up above where you can see where we fermented these peppers, but that adds that little bit of kick. And of course, the spiciness is optional. Just in time, we finished making that sauce, and the meatballs are finishing up in the oven. You want to get them scraped off, thrown into your slow cooker, and then pour across the top that sauce. When you make a bunch of extra meatballs right after it comes out of the oven, cools down a bit, this is the perfect time to vacuum seal and throw these in the freezer. From this point forward, all you have to do is make the sauce and throw those frozen meatballs straight into the slow cooker, and you've got hors d'oeuvres ready to roll at any time.
So good. That's good. It's gonna be an absolute hit at any gathering you go to. So YouTube says that this video is perfect for your viewing habits. This is my latest upload, and over here is a playlist you might just enjoy. I hope you liked it. If you did, please click like, subscribe, share, and come on back for more.